What's up, fam? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Lariello, and I'm so excited to bring you guys an episode today with Sarah Carter. Really excited to finally have a conversation with Sarah. Just a big fan, and after this conversation, I left even a bigger fan. We caught up with Sarah about a month removed from her 8th place finish at the Tepe Trail Golden Trail Series race in Mexico, which was one of her proudest performances. Talked a lot about that performance. We got into that a lot, and then I think a lot of the conversation that was really cool was we got into Sarah's journey. It's one of just like being tough and being gritty and perseverance. We got into, her experience in college, where she had to transfer and go to another team to run track and cross country. We got into signing with a new brand and fulfilling that, this past early spring, late winter. And then we talked about what she had planned for the rest of her season, the rest of her 2025. And we also got into injury, coming back from, a pretty serious injury, and what it's like to, build up and try to go race Broken Arrow with only a few weeks of, with running and just her ability to, kind of break through and persevere on that. So this is a really fun conversation. Really appreciate Sarah for coming on and being open to telling her story. Wishing her the best of luck in the rest of her season. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy this one. It was a great conversation. So without further ado, Sarah Carter.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
People, what's going on? It is summer, guys. Super exciting. Adventures in the mountains, summer races. It's about that time to start thinking about your gear. I want to say our brand partner, Ultimate Direction's got you guys covered. Pop on over to ultimatedirection.com. Check out a whole quiver and new vests and belts that have just dropped. Pop on over to check out the new race and ultra vests. Race vest in a 6-liter, the ultra vest in a 12, and beautiful new aesthetic colorways. Definitely dynamic and stretchy, cool new materials. And definitely something that can definitely buff out your kit for 2025. On top of that, we did just drop a brand new pull quiver that's compatible for all of these vests. Definitely something you're going to want to add. And if you're not a vest person, pop on over to the belt section. You can check out the utility belt and the comfort belt. The utility belt is a little bit more of an ultra belt, more storage capacity, a little bit thicker, and ability to hold poles. The comfort belt's a little bit smaller. Think sub-ultra or workout maybe oriented belt that's going to hold your gels and your phone. Still super durable, but just a little bit tinier for those smaller adventures or maybe shorter races like a Cirque Series race or something like that in the mountains. So pop on over to ultimatedirection.com. They have you covered for all your hydration solutions. Use code SteepStuffPod for 25% off. Again, that's SteepStuffPod, one word, for 25% off. Ultimate Direction's got you covered. And if you have any questions, shoot me a DM. Let me know. I'd be happy to answer any product-related questions for you guys. So thanks so much. Check out Ultimate Direction. Sarah Carter, welcome to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How's it going?
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Stoked to have you on finally. I feel like I've been like adjacently aware of you like in the Boulder running scene, like trail team stuff for like a while. And then after, your most recent race in Mexico, you had a great finish. So I was like, you know what? Let's have a conversation. So happy we were able to finally do this.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think, I always talk with my friends here in Boulder. There's 1 degree of separation between you and anybody else in the kind of running endurance sports world. So yeah, it's cool to finally be on.
Yeah, no, for sure. How's your week going so far?
Yeah, my week's going well. Last sort of big-ish week of training before I start to taper for my next couple races. So I'm enjoying the process of that since I was out of running for a while. It's nice to be back and just kind of knocking out those consistent miles, consistent workouts. And as I think as many former track runners will say, like the taper tantrum is coming. Um,
What do you, if you don't mind me asking, like, what do you have coming up?
Yeah, so in about a week, I'll be flying out to Europe with a couple friends, and we'll be doing Golden Trail Austria and then Sierra Zinal after that.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah,
We'll get into the Golden
thanks.
Trail stuff, but like,
For
man,
sure.
that what is the name of that Austria race? It's like the
I
Glacier
think it's
Trail.
Pitt's Alpine Glacier Trail.
It
Yeah.
looks so rad. That seems like a sweet course, right? And then Series and All is
Yeah.
obviously iconic, right?
It's an iconic race. Yeah. And August is going to be a big one. It kind of just increases in magnitude. So I'm, yeah, starting with Golden Trail Austria, Sierra Zinal, and then a few weeks after that, I have OCC.
Nice.
Just stepping up in distance and vert and everything, and really excited about all of it.
Oh man, super cool, super cool. All right, so before we get started, maybe let's do the biographical stuff. Let's get that out of the way. Maybe give me like the 5 minute elevator pitch on like your kind of your background with running. Maybe talk about your time at CSU, all that stuff.
Yeah, sure thing. Oh gosh, okay. Condensing 20 years into 5 minutes.
Oh,
Big ask.
you can go more. You
No,
can
it's
go more.
okay. It's
Take as
okay.
much time.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been a runner for about 20 years now. My first 5K was actually a funny accident. It was like some community, 5K race, and I was 6. My parents thought I was each with the other. And I actually ended up running my first 5K completely alone. I had no idea what a 5K was. I didn't know how long it was. I thought maybe it was 5 miles. But I also didn't know how long 5 miles was. So I just ended up thinking I was lost and gonna die in a cornfield. Then I finished, and the romantic in me is like, then I loved running forever and ever. I think I cried actually. Um, but yeah, after that, I was a youth triathlete for a bit. And it just became pretty apparent that my strength there was running. So while I was doing those triathlons, I was also doing a lot of road 5Ks, and eventually came across somebody on the USATF circuit. So I started doing all the Junior Olympic stuff. Um, Took me into high school cross country and track, and then actually did my first 2 years of collegiate running at the University of Washington.
Okay.
So had a few teammates who are also on the trail scene these days.
Yeah, yeah.
And then yeah, after, I mean, I've talked about this before, but it's something I want to be very open about as somebody, who obviously not only is able to run professionally, but still loves running. After my sophomore year at Washington, I was actually cut from the team and told that, I just didn't have the potential to be successful in the sport. So transferring for me, it wasn't just a loose fit choice. It was not really a choice at all. My choice was if I wanted to continue running collegiately, I had to leave. Um, and honestly, that was the best possible thing that could have happened to me, because it led me to CSU, somewhere that I hadn't thought about before, and that, you know, really was the place that made it possible for me to not only fall back in love with running, but to, reach, I wouldn't want to say my full potential because I think, we still got a ways to go, but to reach everything I have so far. And because of, every red shirt under the sun, I had a full 5 years at CSU.
Oh, wow,
So
that's awesome.
it, yes. So I had 7 years in the NCAA, and I'm very grateful for that. Not so grateful for all the injuries that made that possible, but I'm glad I was able to do that. Just because I felt like, the first 2 years at Washington, I spent a lot of time injured, and then the rest of the time also just very kind of in the pits mentally. So getting to kind of start over fresh, have that full 5 years at CSU to just grow and develop as an athlete, as a person, to pursue things I really cared about academically was really exciting. Yeah, so I finished off my time at CSU just over a year ago now, and hopped straight into trails. I think the thing I kind of giggled about last year was it was 2 weeks to the day after my last NCAAs. I was on the start line of my first trail race of the season. It
Wow.
was the Broken Arrow VK. So it was really a quick transition. Yeah, and since then I've kind of just been, trying new distances, trying new disciplines. Had my first road half that I've run as an adult. Earlier this spring, I did my first ultra back in December. So it's been a really fun transitional time of just getting to kind of discover, you know, what direction do I want to take running as a career in? Like what distances feel good? Like what kind of racing do I enjoy and where does my potential lie? And it's been a fun process, definitely a complicated process. But I've enjoyed it all, and running professionally has been my dream since I was that 6-year old. And I saw, I think, one of the Prefontaine documentaries for the first time. Um, so, getting to do what I'm doing now is really special.
What a cool! You might have one of the best stories I think I've ever heard on the podcast. Like, and
Oh,
the reason
thank
I
you.
say the reason I said it's because like obviously it's a really difficult time in your life getting either cut from a team or going through something like as emotionally scarring or taxing like that. It's like losing a job. It's like pretty. That's like, I can imagine something pretty intense, and especially being very young to go through that, and then being able to, realize that life goes on and not necessarily reinvent yourself, but realize that like you're able to continue to do the sport and do all those things. Can you talk about like how it changed you? Like I would imagine it's because it seems like you have a very positive spin on the sport, very positive outlook.
I try to. It ebbs and flows for sure. I think, you know, coming out of high school, I had my whole career has kind of been defined by these periods of kind of relative mediocrity. And then I have this big jump and I get a taste of like what I'm capable of. And I get a taste of, okay, these dreams aren't so far fetched. And then, things happen that kind of send me back into, that sort of struggling place. And I had it happen several times. So yeah, coming out of high school, I really wanted to, go to like the kind of biggest, most prestigious, most competitive program that I could because I thought that that's what I needed to be successful. And of course, who doesn't want that kind of thing, right? And of course there were benefits to that, and I think a lot about that as I've entered the professional sphere. But what I realized as a collegiate athlete is that what I wanted wasn't what I needed. Um, and I think that really showed when I was transferring because I had spent my time at Washington, especially that sophomore year, feeling very unsupported, feeling very unwanted, feeling like, no matter how hard I worked, no matter how hard I tried, no matter what I accomplished, like, no matter how much I communicated, it just was never going to be good enough. And so it was really important to me when I transferred to go somewhere that I knew I was wanted and go somewhere where the coaches and the team and the support staff actually cared about my development and trajectory and didn't just, throw me away based on kind of what I considered a hastily made assumption about me. And finding that at CSU was really awesome. And I'm not going to act like it was this instantaneous epiphany of everyone here likes me, so now I'm going to be good. It wasn't that at all. It was very much this process of having to, find confidence and find like an internal sense of self-worth that I felt like I had kind of lost. And it took years. Like you can go back and you can look at my TFers. I didn't break 17 in the 5K until halfway through my 5th year of college, and for a lot of people, that's kind of, the end of their career. And things didn't even take off for me until that point. Um, and so I think, the transition that you talked about, it was really years and years long, like years of unlearning a lot of bad mental and emotional habits and tendencies, and years of building up physical health and resilience and confidence. It was a lot of moving pieces at once and, tossed some stress fractures in there and definitely stirred the pot. But I also don't think that I would be where I'm at if those things hadn't happened. Like if I'd had a more linear collegiate journey, I don't think I would be where I am. I think part of the reason I can be so positive now and I kind of just am sending this experience is because I know what it's like to have nothing going right. So now, even if it's just one thing, I'm excited and grateful about that.
That's a beautiful answer. Wow. Did
Thanks.
you, let me ask you, so I got to double back for a second. You grew up in
Yeah.
Colorado, right? Or no?
Mm-mm.
Where did you grow up?
Arizona.
It was Arizona. Okay. Sorry. I didn't get
Mhm.
that out of you before. Super
No, it's
cool.
okay. Yeah, I should have specified. I just,
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Did you go
yeah,
to CSU with Sydney Peterson?
I did.
Oh, shout out to Sydney. She's another
Yeah, no,
friend of the pod.
she
Yeah.
she was my first friend at CSU, and she's still one of my best friends.
Really? That's super cool.
Hmm.
Love Sydney. Super, super good human. And yeah, like I said, friend
Yeah,
of the
Cindy's
pod.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So what a story. It's interesting to me because I talk to so many folks that have had rough rides in college, like in the sense of either D1, D2 athletes, like not necessarily the best time, but when they get to trail, it seems like they're just having fun. They're like, I'm just having a good time. Like, this is great. There's no pressure. Like, and the pressure is the pressure you put on yourself. And it's usually not that much. Like, would you agree with that? Like, or do you still put pressure on
Mhm.
yourself in the sport?
I put a lot of pressure on myself. I think that's why I giggled a little bit when you were, the first thing
You
you said
seem
was,
happy about
I,
it.
I am. I am. I mean, I think this last year was kind of this tough dichotomy for me because on paper, my life was so cool. And so many parts of it were, I last summer I worked for about half the summer and then I basically just took my savings and I was like, I'm gonna go to Europe and I'm going to try and run some competitive races and I'm going to reach out to brands and I'm just like my goal is to do what I have to do to try and, make running professionally a possibility. Because coming out of NCAA, like I was good enough where it was realistic to pursue, but I wasn't good enough where there was anybody lined up around the block, to offer me anything coming out of college. Um, and so honestly, this last year was kind of tough. I put so much pressure on every single race to be that kind of defining moment that got me sponsored. And kind of none of them were that. And I think it was a lot of the comparison game, like looking at people that I would consider my peers who walked out of the NCAA with a contract in hand or walked out of the NCAA, had one really good trail race and got a contract. And, I felt like by that not happening for me that I was kind of falling short or that I was doing something wrong. And so yeah, I put a lot of pressure on every race. And of course, as all of us know, that actually makes it harder to be successful.
Big time.
But it's also hard once you're in that mindset to take yourself out of it. And even though objectively I was kind of being my own worst enemy, it was hard to talk myself out of that place because I was just like, I don't know. I think I expected to have that magic transition that many people that I know did. Um, and I felt like not having that was a personal shortcoming. And I think it also, compounded with the stress of like, I'm burning my own personal savings doing this, and I've not always been the most financially stable. So it felt scary to be like, I am unemployed and I'm just kind of sending it in Europe, hoping that something is going to work out. And when it kind of seemed like that wasn't happening, I was freaking out a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I was reaching out to brands and hearing a lot of no's, and that's, the reality for most of us, but it still hurt to hear, because it made it feel like, man, what have I been working for all this time if I'm actually maybe not good enough after all? And it brought back, just a lot of those feelings of not being enough and being insufficient as an athlete or, like letting people down, even though I'm like, I was on the surface, like I'm going to Europe. I'm training in Chamonix, I'm running up mountains every day. I moved to Boulder. All of these things like look so cool. But on the flip side of it, I was kind of having an existential crisis. But I guess that leads me to the positive side of it, which was signing with Topo.
Hell yeah. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. And I don't know if you were going like
No, talk
we're gonna
about it.
talk.
Let's.
Okay.
That was on my list of things to get to. Topo, like
Okay.
obviously.
Segue. Here we
Yeah,
go.
let's go.
Yeah. So they over the winter reached out to me, and I was really excited about that because talking to them on learning more about the brand and their vision and what they're all about, and just kind of hearing the enthusiasm that they had for me was so important because it felt like being in the transfer portal all over again and talking to CSU. And that meant a lot to me because it made me realize, why on earth would I spend all this mental and emotional energy on people who don't want me
Yeah.
when there's someone right here who is an incredible brand that does. And they actually like the shoe that they just released, the Vista. It's the best trail running shoe I've ever put on my feet. And I'm like, this feels like the kind of perfect parallel of my journey in college, and realizing that I have everything I need right here and then some. Like, my journey doesn't have to look like my peers for it to be perfect for me.
Yeah. No. Oh my God. Such a good answer. I really, and I appreciate you kind of segueing into Topo. Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Like I have to say, like honestly, I've tried the shoes in the past. Like huge fan. Like they make a fantastic product. I like it because I think it's a great signing because there's not a ton of athletes on their team that are like that 50K distance and down, and like you are like perfect in that sub ultra, like more of the Golden Trail series and stuff. I don't think they have any international athletes doing it either. So like you're kind of the one, which is awesome. So you're kind of like the like brand ambassador / athlete for them, like on that scene. Like how does that feel?
It honestly feels really exciting, because the number one thing that I felt like was important for me when signing with anybody was, I'm new to this scene in a competitive sense, and I feel like I have a long ways to grow. And ideally, I could be with a brand that can grow along with me. And so like having that trajectory of, yeah, I'm, one of their first, if not their first, like kind of 50K down person. Like I'm one of the younger people on the team. So I kind of bring a new demographic and a new type of energy, and hopefully expanding into new markets. That's been really special for me. Cause I'm like, now I feel like, I can develop along with them, and we can kind of, have this intertwined trajectory, especially because I also shoe test for them. So, getting to very directly be a part of that process is so cool. And it's very rewarding too, and it's also fun representing a brand like Topo because all the time I'll be out for a run here in Boulder. And like, I think every time I've been at the top of Sanitas in the last month, people be like, what is that you're wearing? And I get to do the spiel, and it's so much fun. And one of my friends, you probably know Talon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he works at Fleet Feet, and he's always telling me when people come in and ask for Topos or when they try them on, and they seem to be pretty universally loved. And I'm like, that makes me so excited to kind of be a part of that growth.
Yeah, it's
cool.
an immensely popular shoe. Like I tried, like was the Mountain Racers or something like that back in the day. Yeah, and like I said, it's wide toe box, but still with a drop. Like it's like I said, immensely popular. A lot of people wear them. I'm just happy that like they're repping now, like in the sub ultra scene. Like they notice that there's a market there, and they're trying to attack and like get in. Have athletes in there and have it like just a presence, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's honestly very untapped. So yeah, Mountain Racer is what I typically race in. And they're awesome. It's enough cushion for me to feel comfortable, doing 50K plus in them. But they're light and maneuverable, and the traction's awesome. So they have the Vibram on the bottom. So it's like I can grip anything I need to. And I think pretty much, gosh, I guess 2 of the 3 ultras I've done have been quite wet. And so
no joke.
Sorry?
I said chucking nut's no joke, man.
Oh my gosh, especially this last year. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was like, I think we were wet before we even got to the start line. Yeah, don't ask why I started in a tank top. That was a mistake.
At least you didn't get hypothermia, man. So people
That's true. Yeah. Oh no, it was scary passing people who were very obviously not okay. And I don't know how I managed to not. Because I did the first probably 10 or so miles in the tank top. And I mean, I knew it was a mistake, but I wasn't going to stop before an aid station because my hands were too numb. So I was like, you just have to make it to the next aid and they can put your coat on for you. Yeah, that race was gnarly. But anyways, back to the
Yeah,
topos.
sorry.
No, it's okay. Gosh, Chuck, and that was a trip. But running and Thailand had just several water crossings. It was quite wet as well. Running that far in a completely saturated shoe and not having it rub all the skin off of your foot, I think is a pretty good endorsement. Yeah, comfort wise, they've been great. Performance wise, awesome. Yeah, I train in the Vistas. Love those. Like they're the most maneuverable high cushion trainer I've ever worn. Which I've tried a lot of them. So big fan. Yeah.
Super cool. Super cool. Well, I'm excited to see where this partnership goes.
Yeah.
It's very cool to see, like I said, them on the scene and just, see how as it continues to develop. Let's talk racing. I want to chat because you just got back from, was it Tepe, or is that, how do they pronounce it? The Tepe?
Yeah, Tepe Trail. Yeah.
Tepe Trail was the one that just took place in Mexico. We're a few weeks removed, probably like, well, about a month now. Goes to show you how much I keep track of time. That said, though, you had a top 10 finish there at a Golden Trail World Series race, like arguably one of your best performances so far, and you've had a lot of really good ones. Like, let's talk about the race itself and just how excited you were about the performance and just how it went for you.
Yeah, honestly, my expectations going into that race were kind of purposely zero. Just because I was coming off of a pretty rough day at Broken Arrow. And I had done very minimal training for both of those races. I think it's on my Instagram, but yeah, I think before Broken Arrow, the longest thing I did was 12 miles with about 1,500 feet of vert. Once. And that was, I was just, with that, I was just simply not prepared for 29 miles and just under 9,000 feet of climbing descent. And so I think I was still sore from Broken Arrow on the start line of Mexico. And, I was still in the phase of just praying that I wasn't going to re-tear my glute med. So going into that race, I was just like, I'm here because, I lost a few races earlier in the season. This lined up really perfectly for me. It's a longer course, which means I'm not going to feel quite so insecure about not having a lot of leg speed. The team hosting the race, they were phenomenal and flexible and accommodating. So I was really excited to have gotten to go on that trip because I didn't know if I was going to be able to from a health standpoint. So getting to even be there, I was like, heck yeah. But yeah, honestly, on the start line, I was like, if I can go through today and I can kind of keep my head and keep my health, and make it to the finish line, feeling even marginally better than I did at Broken Arrow, like I'm gonna be happy. And I think I got into it and I realized, even just in that week since Broken Arrow, like I had already adapted to some capacity because I felt better. I felt more of a flow. My body was cooperating more. I was holding down fuel better. My downhills were, they were better. The baseline was low. I felt better and I just, I felt more in the race from the start. But mentally, I did put a lot of emphasis on not forcing myself to have any specific outcome in order to be happy. And yeah, I mean, I think, I realized by about halfway through that top 10 was going to be well within grasp, and that made me excited and, pushed through, finished, and was just really, proud of being able to pull off my highest ever Golden Trail finish off of what conditions that I would consider to be not ideal. Because I think between Broken Arrow and Tepic, I ran about 12 miles total.
Jesus, that's crazy.
I mean, I biked some, but yeah, I ran 6 miles one day, 6 miles and some strides the day before the race, and then I got on the start line, and I was like, "Well, I'm here.
Let's give it a go." Yeah,
we're just gonna see what happens. But yeah, I was really proud to have that happen, especially at that particular race, because out of all of the Golden Trail races I've been to so far, that event and that community brought the most energy, like the most passion, the most excitement that I've experienced. And in an atmosphere like that, how can you not perform? Like how can you not want to bring your best, because you just feel so supported by people who, you know, I mean, I guess they kind of knew who we were, but like, basically strangers are still making you feel so supported. Like that's a special feeling.
What did
And
you? Oh, I'm sorry.
no, they brought it there. That's all I was gonna say.
What did you
Sorry,
think?
I'm a yapper. I
Oh, no, no,
apologize.
you're good. You're good. I'm listening. I'm listening. What did you think of the course? Like I saw some like photos of like Lauren Gregory, I think, falling all over the place, and like other people falling. Like what did you? What did was it slick, or like what was the deal there?
I would call it enjoyably technical.
Okay.
Um, it had so pretty much every day leading up until the race, it had rained. For some, if not the whole day. So some areas were pretty muddy, or some were just slippery, and especially some of the downhills were quite technical. So if you're an amazing technical downhiller who just sends it like Lauren, some spills were inevitable, I think. Yeah, I need her to put on a downhill clinic for me to attend. She's a beast. But yeah, it was honestly, I thought it was a very well balanced course. There were some areas where you could get into a really great flow, whether it was climbing or descending, or relatively flat. And then there were also some areas that were a technical challenge, and then kind of everything in between. I liked that a lot. I think variability keeps a course fresh, and it also, depending on where you are, plays to the strengths of various athletes. And I think that, that leaves the race open to anybody. Um, and yeah, I enjoyed it. And I think races like that for me are a really excellent learning opportunity because it shows me where I'm strong and it shows me where I need to work on. And both of those things are really invaluable when it comes to preparing for future races. So really liked that.
I gotta give you your kudos too. Like just being able to bounce back. I feel like because Broken Arrow was just like hit or miss for so many people that I feel like that could mess with people's like just mess with your head a lot, and especially going into a race the following week. It's like one of those mental spaces where it's either okay, I can brush this one off and go into it with low expectations, or just seeing what happens. Or some people like are very self defeated and I just think themselves as being out of it. So being able to kind of claw your way back and have an amazing performance, like that's I got to give you your flowers for that. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I think honestly, clawing my way back has been the theme of my athletic career.
It's cool.
um,
Blue collar, like work. I like it. I dig it. It's cool.
Thank you.
I gotta ask you about like Mexico. Did you guys like hang out, enjoy like the food and everything, and like the culture? I mean, like it's I love Mexico. It's like one of my favorite places to visit. Like, what did you think?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, it was wonderful. Like I said, I want to give a major shout out to like the whole Salmon Mexico team, and the Tepe Trail team. Like they created an amazing event. They did a phenomenal job with logistics and, with course marking. Like it was a pretty remote course and I was never worried about being lost. The support at aid stations was amazing. But yeah, outside of the race, we were eating home cooked meals every day. One of the hotels hosted meals and it was just this wonderful group of women in the kitchen who just we're whipping. I don't honestly, I'm not sure what half of what we ate was, but it was delicious.
That's amazing.
And it was great to just get that authentic flavor and the culture. Unfortunately, Lauren and I got there a little bit late to do some of the cultural activities that some of the other athletes got to. Sad about that because it looked awesome. We did get to explore the downtown of Huasca del Campo a little bit. That was really neat. And then after the race, the racing community were kind enough to host a party for us. So they had a live band, and they had people making food from scratch right there in front of us. So same thing, just more delicious homemade food and listening to, live music. And we actually got to do some traditional dances. I can't say I'm a very good dancer, but I tried, put in the effort. But yeah, getting to take part in that was very special. And I also want to give a shout out. This was the first time that I was involved in the like top athlete proceedings. So the first time I got to be in the athlete presentation, and the poster signing and all of that, and getting to meet the community and the other athletes racing was amazing. You
So
know,
cool.
people were so excited to meet us, and like compared to some of the other athletes there, I'm kind of a no name, and like I was sitting next to Joyce, on the autograph signing line. I'm not expecting much, and the fact that people still wanted to talk to me and take pictures with me, and they still wanted my signature on their hat and things like that, just made me feel so special and so appreciative for how passionate they were about the sport. Um, and it's just a reminder of like that's what's so amazing about the trail community. And the people there just exemplified that completely. Such a cool. Yeah, so cool.
It is so cool. Like, and it's crazy because like I think people forget that like it's a global sport. Like there's fans everywhere, and people really follow the Golden Trail series. Like it's like worldwide. Yeah. Like it's kind of a phenomenon and growing. What would you say as far as like the Mexican culture and like that just the fan base? Is there a lot of fans there and people that want to know these athletes?
Oh my gosh, yeah, huge. And like I said, I'm still relatively new to being in even any remote kind of spotlight, so I don't know how this compares to the experiences of other athletes who, are kind of known everywhere they go. But I would say like interacting with, the other people racing at the venue and the spectators and everything, they were so excited to host that event, and for us to be a part of it. I think, even just walking around the venue after the race, like I went for a short walk. That was my cool down. And the amount of times that I was stopped just to take photos and to sign things, even after the race, like, and I didn't win, and I'm pretty sure people knew I wasn't Lauren. Um, um, the fact that people were still just excited that I was any part of that was just so special. And yeah, getting to see the energy that people had at the aid stations and these crazy remote places on the course where I'm like, I don't even know how you got there to spectate, but somehow you're there and you're cheering. Like that is amazing, and that is passion. And even some of the folks working at the hotels that we stayed at, they made it very clear that they were excited to be a part of this event, and they were happy to have us. There was one man, I think he worked at the host hotel, and he had all the athletes sign his t-shirt before we checked out. And it's like, I don't know, just to be able to feel so welcomed into the community, even just for a weekend, was really special. And yeah, at the athlete signing, there were a few folks who brought like goodie bags of gifts for every athlete. And I have no idea if that's typical or not, but nothing like that has ever happened to me before. It was a little bag of traditional Mexican like treats and candy. I'm like, that was so thoughtful. And another woman gave us each a little pack of either like Mexico earrings or a pin. And if there's any podium pictures out there, I'm wearing the pin on my t-shirt when I'm on the podium. Just because it's like, you welcomed us, and I'm thankful to be here with you.
What a cool sport. It's the best sport on earth.
Oh my
So
gosh,
awesome.
right? Yeah.
It's amazing. I want to rewind a little bit, and I want to I feel like we can close the book on Mexico. I feel like we got everything from that, but I want to talk about your injury, your glute med. When did you tear it? And then how long was it before you tore it to get to Broken Arrow when you started trying to figure things out?
Yeah, so I tore it at the very end of April.
Oh, wow. Okay, so close. That's so close.
Yeah, not too far off. And we didn't know for a while what it was, because it wasn't a kind of trauma event that tore it. This is so sad to admit, but I irritated it doing booty blaster glute work. With
awesome.
with Lauren and Allie, and I made the mistake. I was using a black band when I should not have been. I just didn't think anything of it because I was like, we do glute work all the time. Like nothing happened. It's the lowest risk thing you can do when you're used to running up and down mountains. And a couple days later, I just started to get a lot of kind of pain in that like hip area. And we're runners. If something hurts, you kind of see if you can run through it first. And rather than see if I could run through it doing something light or easy, I decided to see if I could run through it tempoing Sanitas loop, and then running 10 more miles.
Oh God.
I had a 16-mile long run with 30 minutes of like hard trail work. And that is on me for not listening to my body when it told me that morning I probably shouldn't have done that. And that's where the tear occurred. Like during the run, it wasn't as bad, but I think I kind of realized after the fact, like that was a mistake. And it's kind of one of those things where it feels like it's soft tissue, but it's in a very high risk area. So we had a lot of concern. I'm like, okay, is this my labrum? Is this my femoral neck? Is this my pelvis? It was even radiating so far that I was like, is this my sacrum? Just because I was having pain from my hip flexor all the way around the side of my hip into my glute and all the way up against the side of my sacrum. So it's like there's so many things that this could be. So I eventually got an MRI, and that confirmed that it was just like a partial tear of the glute med. So that was actually a celebratory moment, because that was the first time I've ever gotten an MRI that wasn't a stress fracture.
Nice.
So claps for that. I think I excitedly texted my group chat with my training partners saying my MRI was clean, my butt's torn, but it's nothing's broken. So that that's kind of best case scenario. The unfortunate side to that was, yeah, I had, I want to say 4 failed return to trainings. Like if you went to look at my Strava, it would look like an EKG. It's just up, down, where I would try to come back, have a few good days, it would flare up again. I would have to take more days off. Every time I would think that I'm back, it's better, I've made it a few days, I've made it almost a week, it would just kind of send me backwards again. So leading up to Broken Arrow, I had 1 full week of training the week before where I was able to run my full 6 days. Half of them were on the incline treadmill, but that's still running. And yeah, I did that, very good preparation of a 12-mile long run. And then I had the week of Broken Arrow. And that was the only consistent running that I did going into that race. And, it showed out there.
I gotta
I knew I
say,
wasn't ready.
yeah, but like I gotta give you like kudos for even lining up a Broken Arrow. Like I went through this with like something very similar, and I just want to just say to hell with it and just raced because it was a short race. I raced Cirque Series Killington. It's only an 8-mile race, but like to go around a 29-mile race off of like that, like holy shit! Like, did you have your doubts? Like, were you not going to do it and decided to last second, or like how did that? Are you like always I'm gonna do this?
I had it in my mind that I was going to make it to that start line under any circumstance except like the concrete knowledge that I couldn't or shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, full disclosure, like I had an exit strategy in place with my coach David, in case, what do I do if this happens? What do I do if that happens? And I had it planned out, like, here are the different places on the course where I could safely stop and make it back down. Here's where it'd be safe for me to pull out if I have to. Here's what I do if I get sudden pain. Like, here's how much I can try and run through it versus when to call it. So, I mean, I went into that race knowing I was going to give it my best shot, but I also went in knowing it wasn't worth sacrificing the rest of my season. Um, and that week going into the race, had I felt like there was a higher chance of re-injury than there was of me finishing, I wouldn't have raced. But I think it had gotten to the point where I believed that I at least had a chance. And that was my only shot at the world's team. And so I felt that I was doing myself a disservice if I didn't try. And I was fully prepared to, if it looked like I had to pull out. But fortunately, I didn't. And, if there's one positive thing I could take away from that race, it's that I did not re-injure myself.
Yeah.
And it made me feel a lot more confident going forward because I'm like, well, if that didn't re-injure it,
You're good. Yeah.
I'm probably good.
Yeah. At least that's That's athlete math, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, if I could do that, I can do less than that and not get hurt, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how I don't know, like we go through it's the like the whole mental process. Like, well, if I could do this, I can do that. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? I want to go back a little bit. So, was the
Yeah.
plan originally like early in the season, like back around Chuck and Nut, and like even like when the original Worlds qualifier races were announced? Was Broken Arrow always the plan, or was Sunapee also in the mix? I'm just curious because like someone coming from a track background, I feel like you could have done very well at a race like that as well.
I was considering it. It was never firmly on the schedule for me. My focus race was always going to be Broken Arrow, just because I feel like, well, I've raced a lot of sub ultra, and I still got a little bit of leg speed in me. I have felt like my sub ultra racing, I don't think I found my groove yet. I don't think I've had a single kind of traditional sub ultra race that has felt like right to me. Here's my hot take philosophy. Okay. Kind of the classic distance up to about 25K. That's the 1500 at the trail world.
Yep.
Like, and the people that have the track background, and not all of them, but like a lot of them that you see thriving at that distance are the people who are 1500 runners, who were steeple chasers,
Yep.
who were, maybe they dabbled in the 5K, but they were 5K 15 and not 5K 10K. It's obviously not a hard and fast rule, but it's something that I have noticed, because when I raced my first 50K, the first thing I said when I was asked about it, I was like, that was a technical 10K. That was a 5-hour technical 10K. And I felt like debuting in that distance, that first one in Thailand, that felt better to me than any sub ultra race I had done before that moment.
Interesting. That's a good take. Yeah, I never. Well,
Yeah.
we know steeplers do very well. Like we all know, like steeplers for some reason it just clicks. The mountain classic distance just seems to like your Ali Max, your Lawrence, like people like that, like seem to perform very well. I never thought about it like that. Oh, that's a good one.
I'm gonna get flamed for that, I'm sure.
No, I don't think so. I think it's
I believe what I believe.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people would agree with it though, because like this is something I bring up a lot on the podcast: is why do steeplers perform? I literally just had this conversation yesterday with Alexa Aragon. It was like, why do steeplers do so well, like on the trails? So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and call that like 25 to 35K range. Call that the 5K.
Yeah,
that's my take.
Wow. So where do you see, like, obviously you're going to do some more Golden Trail Series races. Obviously, Series Anal is not a short race. It's a pretty long one. It's funny. People don't really know it goes from a place called Siri to a town called Zanal. I don't. Nobody gets that. I don't know. Pretty cool.
Crazy how that's named.
It's crazy how it works that way.
Yeah.
But like, do you see yourself more trending in that 50K and up distance, or like where do you find your sweet spot kind of going forward in your career?
Yeah. I don't see myself going significantly longer than the 50K as of yet, just because I'm not quite ready to let go of those shorter distances, and I'm not quite ready to let go of my leg speed. And I know it wouldn't disappear forever, but I think, once you trend upward far enough, it's a lot harder to kind of recover those speed legs. I don't think I'll do track and 50K training in the same year, but I do foresee myself at some point going back to track, or at least to like the road 10K. So I don't feel ready to make that transition upwards past 50K quite yet. So I think for now, sub ultra to, OCC is about the range I'm looking for. I think also with sub ultra, because I haven't been satisfied with any of those races yet, that shows me that I have a pretty large margin for improvement. And that's something I want to chase. If I feel like, hey, I have a shot at doing significantly better here, I don't think I'm even remotely close to touching my ceiling, I'm not going to give up on that. Like, it's not a sign that it's not for me. It's just a sign that I haven't found the right combination of, strategy, of fueling, of maybe training, things like that. I'm like, okay, there are things I can refine to improve at this distance, and I'm not going to give up on that until I feel like I've actually kind of exhausted my potential there. Plus,
so interesting. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you first.
Oh, thanks. I was just gonna say, especially the longer distances will still be there. I think it's pretty well known to everybody that, being older only increases your competitiveness in those longer events. It's like the 100K, the 100 mile, that's going to be there for me, like my ability to compete in those events is only going to increase from here. So I'm not in a rush to get there. I'll get there when I get there, you know. Maybe I'll be eating my words in 2 years, depending on what I go for in the world cycle. Um, but you know, as it stands right now, I think I still have room for improvement, both in sub ultra and the 50K, and you know, I want to focus there and see what can happen.
And I think you're smart to do it. I don't know what it is with the American scene, but there's just always this push to move up in distance where it's like, especially as a sub ultra guy and someone that covers sub ultra.
Yeah.
I hate even calling it sub ultra. Noah Williams actually corrected me on this recently. We were talking about it and he's like, it's mountain running. In Europe, they just call it mountain running. And that's what it is. I was like, dude, you're right. But anyway, that's a different conversation. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why us as Americans always want to move up into these like crazy longer distances where it's like so much more competitive at like down in the lower like mountain classics and the Golden Trail, stuff like that. It's so much more competitive. And then when you move up, obviously like the fields thin out a little bit when you get to the, you know, the longer distances. But like up until the 50K, like, you know, that's where the fields are at. And it's a hard thing to learn. Like, I feel like there's a lot of a big learning curve. Like it takes a couple years, if not more, I feel like, to figure out, like, for instance, like I did the Cirque series, the whole circuit last year, and I'll
Cool.
hopefully do more this year. But like just figuring out how to like assert yourself into the race in the beginning, because if you don't, you're it's gone
Right.
for you.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it's essentially like a track meet in a lot of ways where, yeah, like if you don't put yourself in the race right away, it's over. So yeah, I think there's a substantial learning curve in a lot of ways to these sub ultra like mountain classics and things like that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of learning to do when you're running at what feels like, what feels like a track effort, what feels like a 3K or a 5K type effort, but then doing it for 2 hours. And a good portion of that 2 hours is running 10-minute pace, give or take. And it still feels like the hardest thing you've ever done. There's a lot of both mental and physical relearning that comes with racing like that. And, to an extent, I think it might have hampered my transition to jump so quickly and aggressively into pretty much exclusively very high competition races.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much everything I did last year was, a broken arrow, was a golden trail, was a UTMB world major. I didn't give myself a lot of opportunity to do races where I was going to inherently be more in the race. So I just had a lot of experiences, like what you were saying was, I'm out of the race by 5K in because I can't hang on to Joyce and Madalena and Lauren, and it was this mental relearning of, okay, how do I race like this and how do I stay competitive while also like just learning what to do,
Yeah.
So like I've been trail running my whole life. I've been trail running, since I was 6 years old. I did my first trail race the same year I did my first 5K. But it's a really big difference just trail running and hopping into your local trail race versus getting on the line at Golden Trail.
Right. It's
night and day,
It's so funny. Like I mess with it's a shout out to my brother-in-law. Like he lives in upstate New York and he runs a lot of these like local races and he like wins a lot of them. I'm like, dude, go run something competitive. Like let's see what, I think people get like the misunderstanding of just like how like the pointy tip of the spear of the sport, like how elite it actually is and how fast it really is. And these are real like professional athletes. And like, these are, it's no joke. Like these athletes can be professional at many other things as well. It's not just trail running. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Like many of these athletes, you could, some of them have a really strong road background, which I was, not that surprised to find out, but, hearing like you could put this athlete in a road marathon and they would still be quite dominant. I mean, I think it's most apparent with, this crop of American women men too, but like, part of a large group of American women around my age, give or take a couple years, who have made the transition from NCAA and still, step foot on the road, step foot on the track. You see, like, this is an athlete who can be dominant at anything she does. Like that, I think needs more recognition beyond just one of those disciplines.
100%.
Yeah, and like, it just shows how strong the field is in at the top of trail. And yeah, not to disparage anybody who predominantly runs local trail
No, no,
races.
no, no,
Like,
no.
do your thing,
I don't
you
think people
probably win more
sometimes.
prize money than I do, but
I just think people don't realize like it's sometimes like just how like it's not a joke. Like it's like
no,
it's just
no,
not like people aren't just jogging around in the woods anymore. It's like, when
it's
you have
intense.
yeah, and it's just interesting. Like we have seen a lot of it. Like yourself, dude, Anna Gibson, Lauren Gregory. Like there's
Mhm.
so many amazing like women that do the track trail thing, and it's like they crush it. But I think Madalena Floria, I can't remember what her marathon time is, but she's a legit marathoner. Like there's
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy how deep like the women's fields have just gotten crazy in the last few years, which is kind of cool. Like the just the depth is deep now, which is wild.
It's cool other than the fact that I wish I would have gotten here like a year or two sooner. But because I just feel like having my kind of transition and learning years at such a competitive time has been a little bit tough. But it's like, well, this is the most competitive historically that the sport has ever been. And so it's like you can't get too down on yourself,
No,
to
no.
make to honestly to make myself feel better about Broken Arrow. I went back and looked at how my time would fare on other years just to kind of like not cry in the shower more than once. Um,
Even though you were injured.
I gave myself one. You get one cry in the shower. And then after that we move on.
Fair enough. And what was the time? I'm sure you went top 10, top 5 time in any other year,
Want to
probably.
know what place I would have been last year?
Let's hear it.
I think third or fourth.
What
I don't
the
remember.
fuck? See, there you go.
Yeah.
Most competitive 50K probably ever on American soil, which is bananas. So
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have unfinished business with Broken Arrow? I know you've raced there a few times now. You think you'll go back next year?
Yeah, none of my races have been what I wanted them to be. Um, I think I've raced I guess yeah, I've raced VK 23K and 46K now. And I wasn't that happy with any of those. It's definitely unfinished business, and it's an iconic event. It's a very well run event. Sorry. Excuse me. Like Brendan does a phenomenal job. And it's always going to hold a complicated place in my heart because you know, it was kind of the first kick in the ribs jumping into the trail world and realizing that it was going to be a harder transition than I thought. But at the same time, it was also my first kind of real deep competitive trail race that I ever did. Um, so it's like I'm gonna go back to it as much as I can. What I do next year, I'm not sure. Probably 46K redemption time.
Let's
We'll see.
go.
One of these days I'll do the triple. That'll be cool.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
That'd be fun.
triple's dope. I don't know how
I'd
people
send it.
do it. That's so many laps. Like that's 3 laps more than I really want to do around that thing. Like
I
that's
don't know what you mean. 3 laps. That's not a lot of laps,
yeah,
right?
that's so many
My
laps.
track brain says it's only 3 laps.
Especially like it's a hard course to nail too. It's funny like you see people come back every year trying to figure it out, and some people like have made their careers off of it and had immense success. Like it's definitely one of the most premier and has become like the premier mountain race in the United States. And like the rut's up there as well, but I think just what Broken Arrow has been able to do and Brandon with them, like just yeah, it's crazy. I want to pivot a little bit. I got to ask you a Boulder question. Like
Sure.
Boulder is like so I live in the Springs, and it's like
Mhm.
we've got this like really good dichotomy of like elite runners, and like there's not that many of them, but we're here. Like it's nice, it's a good training ground, but like Boulder's saturated. There's a lot of people doing a lot of epic shit. Is it hard? Is it like do you put pressure on yourself living in a place like that, or is it easy? Like I know there's always somebody to get out with,
Mhm.
but like being injured, it's got to be difficult. Like how do you balance that, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, coming from the college environment, being here is way less pressure, honestly. Just because, I'm not part of a team anymore. So, I have friends and I have training partners and, you know, can hardly go anywhere without running into at least one person, right? But I feel like because it's no longer that team environment of you meet up with the same people every day at the same time and you're doing the same things, that to me is just a more inherently comparative environment. Whereas here, like my primary training partners are Lauren and Allie. And even if we're training for the same events, we're not always doing the exact same training. Allie and I are both coached by David, and Lauren is coached separately. So just by that nature, we're not going to line up. And then, Allie and I often have kind of different leanings in terms of distances, and, she's doing track right now and I'm not. So I think it feels less pressured and less of a comparison game because, at least for me, I'm not doing the same thing as anybody else. So how can I compare myself? Sometimes I have to take a little bit of a break from Strava and just not look at what other people are doing because I think that sometimes can have the tendency to make you feel bad about what you're doing if you perceive someone else's training as superior. When I say superior, I don't mean like better coached, but I just mean like, oh, her workout was better than mine today, so
Yeah.
she must be in better shape. And I'm like, Sarah, you did a trail workout with 45 minutes of workout volume. Somebody else did a track workout of speed reps. Why are you comparing that? There is no comparing that. Yeah, no, no, yeah, your pace was slower. So what? But you did something entirely different. So I think that for me has been honestly really good mentally. And I've only lived here for a year. I moved here for the community. And that was more than worth it. I loved my time in Fort Collins. But I think it just would have been a little bit tougher post collegiately having what I was looking for, training wise.
No, it makes sense. I got to ask you, like training with Lauren and Allie, like two, crushers, everybody's got their own, like they have strengths, you have strengths.
Mhm.
Is like, what is it like running with them and training with them, like as friends and peers and competitors at points? Like, how does that mix?
Oh, it's so fun. Yeah. I mean, we mostly just do easy days together, because very rarely do our workouts ever align, and sometimes the closest is we all go to the same place and do separate workouts. So I think in that way, there's not really this feeling of competitiveness between us. I think I don't want to sell myself short, but I'm also very aware of the fact that, I'm the least known and I'm the least at this point accomplished of the three of us, but I don't really
Yeah, I
like
wouldn't look at it like that at all. Like
I
it's
mean, but like I don't have that get to me because it's just like the best way to get better is to train with people who are better than you.
yeah,
And if anything, like that's inspirational to me, like getting to be around people who've, accomplished things that are, hopefully future goals for me. Like that's inspiring, that's cool. And I feel like kind of honored and flattered that I get to be part of that group, and amazing, like amazing human beings. And we have so much fun and we just yap it up for miles at a time. And
dude, you guys should start a podcast, the three of you. That would be
oh,
cool.
oh, we should.
There you go.
I
There's an idea.
well, I'm actually at Allie's house right now, so I'll tell her when I go upstairs.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
We should start a podcast. That'd be a great time. So we've had some YouTube videos together, and those were a hoot. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I feel really lucky to kind of have fallen in with this group, and there's other folks I meet up and run with too, and they're awesome. And sometimes, like honestly, the hardest part for me is working outside of running. I think, balancing that with every other little piece that goes into being a professional athlete is probably the most difficult part. It's hard getting enough sleep sometimes. It's hard meal prepping and having good food available. It's hard when I, run 20 miles and then I spend 8 hours on my feet the rest of the day. And then I get off of work at 9:20 p.m. and I go home and, I've spent pretty much the entire day on my feet. That's really hard with recovery,
Big time.
and
Yeah.
those I think are the bigger challenges compared to kind of being surrounded by elite people because that's just inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
You're only gonna get better. Like that's the best
exactly.
part.
It's like it's only
Yeah.
going to help me improve. And fighting the imposter syndrome is kind of real sometimes, but I think that's part of kind of just jumping headfirst into this world of professional running. Like there's always going to be somebody who is better than you, and it's no use in looking down on yourself. You just have to look forward at where you're going.
Yeah, it's all progression. It's all just like,
Yeah,
how good can I make myself? How can I
exactly.
improve every day? Yeah, it's
Yeah. Like, what can I learn from the people that I'm around?
exactly.
How can we help each other?
How do you like working with David? I love David. Like David's like he's a character. I think he coaches like every person I've ever had on the podcast, which is also kind of funny. Like what how do you like all the stuff that he does and like his workouts that he gives you and stuff like that, like the program? Like how's it like working with him?
Oh, it's great. Yeah. I mean, I think it was like the best possible transition out of college because you get daily interaction with him. Because I'm so used to the environment of my coach sees me every day, my coach talks to me every day. There's, just kind of constant back and forth and feedback and interaction. And obviously, unless you're part of a pro group that also has an in-person coach, that's just not possible anymore. And David is really the next best thing, like he gives meaningful and constructive and honestly like really hype feedback. And that helps build confidence in what I'm doing even though a lot of what I do is kind of a solo effort with very little to compare it to. Because I'm used to a numbers-based world. I'm used to paces and um, you know, specifically distanced reps. I'm used to this very numerical, very objective world. And so sometimes as an athlete jumping into trail training, it's harder to find satisfaction in what I do. And David is really good about letting me know like the value of what I've done. Yeah, and oh boy, does he give some doozies of workouts, and I mean that in the best way. It's awesome.
That's why you guys are all really good. He makes you guys better. Like
Yeah.
it's funny when he writes stuff like on Instagram or whatnot. Like I read it in his voice. Like I think of like him actually saying like,
Yeah.
and I can imagine like when you guys with a training sheet, like I could just imagine like that's how David's like talking about it. I don't know.
Yes.
That's kind of funny. But
Yes, 100%. Like the caps, the exclamation points,
yeah,
all of it.
yeah.
Yeah. 100%. That is exactly what his written feedback looks like. But yeah, it's been great. It's definitely, learning an entirely new style of training to match an entirely new style of competing has come with its ups and downs. But I think, David has been very communicative as to here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it, here are the mechanisms behind this, here are the adaptations that it's going to help you have. He's helped me dial my in race nutrition. He's given me suggestions when I've asked, whether it be for medical professionals, whether it be, for fueling, all of that. And yeah, it's been a very positive experience. And I don't ever have to doubt whether or not he believes in me, because I know that he does. And having a coach who just is intrinsically in your corner means a lot, especially with my background, because I think, the hardest thing for me would be to be back in the place of doubting whether my coach thinks I'm worth it or not. And, you know, even though David has a million and one things on his plate with the kiddos, his whole family, his own training and racing and traveling, the hundreds of athletes that he works with, his podcast, all of that, like he still finds the time to make me feel valued, and that goes a really long way.
Big time. I think that's part of the secret to his success, like in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, is just making everyone feel like when he's talking to you, he just makes everyone feel very special. He's a good coach. Super cool. Where are we at? We're about an hour. All right, I'm going to end with some questions. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
I decided to bring these back. I like got away from them for a while, and then I started bringing them back. I'm curious to see who inspires you.
Oh, that's a great question. Hmm. Well, I can start by giving you my two childhood role models.
Okay.
They're both named Steve.
Shout out to Steve and Steve.
Steve and Steve, yeah. Erwin and Prefontaine. One I think is the typical runner role model. And the other, I've been a snake and lizard kid from day one. But more than that, like just one of those people that I guess they're both people that were just very, very full of life. And they did what they were passionate about, and sometimes it was pretty and sometimes it wasn't. But they lived to the fullest. And I think, that's something that I've tried to do is it's like a lot of parts of this journey have really not been pretty at all. Like they've been messy and heartbreaking and difficult. And just taking all of that and just knowing that it's part of the beauty of the whole picture. That's big. And yeah, and in terms of, I mean, this is going to be such a cliche answer. I hope she's listening upstairs. Allie inspires me a lot, actually. I think to have the spotlight on you from such a young age and to be faced with so many expectations of your abilities and to struggle so much physically and mentally and emotionally and to come out the other side even better than before. There's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of personality, there's not a lot of spirits that could do that. And getting to be so close with somebody who has accomplished so much in spite of so much is a really inspiring thing. And I think, again, being part of the college circuit, like I've known a lot of people who have struggled a lot and who have suffered a lot, sometimes completely in silence and, sometimes with more of outward expression. But either way, like getting to watch people go through hard things and come out the other side stronger, whether it's stronger in running or stronger as a person or stronger in their convictions about, some aspect of their life, like that's inspiring to me. Like that's special,
That's a good answer. That's a good one.
Thanks.
I'm gonna end on that one because that was too good of an answer to like pass on. Although I gotta say, Allie is definitely inspiring. A big shout out, and big Steve Irwin fan. Also a big Steve Irwin fan.
Yeah. I wanted to be a crocodile hunter when I grew up. That was my first childhood dream. Then I switched to running.
I wanted to be a marine biologist, and I was like the biggest like fan of Steve's. Yeah, well, it's a whole different podcast, but
we could do that podcast too. I can bring snakes.
There we go. Oh man, like I still remember where I was when I found out Steve passed. I was so upset. I think I was like in the 8th grade or a freshman in high school. I was young. It was long ago and far away. But yeah, big Steve fan. Dude, I was looking for the Crocodile Hunter on Discovery Plus the other day and I couldn't find it. I was a little upset.
It's not there. Well, I guess I don't have Discovery Plus, but I would love to watch it again. That was like, I didn't watch a lot of TV growing up, but that was the one.
Oh, Crocodile Hunter. Yeah. Just some wild man just chasing, jumping on crocodiles. Cool stuff.
Yeah. I used to go like flip over boards along the bike path near where I was growing up to try and find reptiles and amphibians and did the voice like crikey.
And you grew up in Arizona. So like there's probably rattlesnakes all over the place, right? Like,
yeah.
Ooh.
I had a few skins in our garage.
That's crazy.
Went scorpion hunting with like the UV lights because they luminesce. That was pretty cool. So I had a pet tarantula growing up. That was awesome.
Dude, I'm terrified of spiders. No way. I found a wolf spider the other day in my house and cried like a baby.
Cool. As long as it's not a black widow or a brown recluse, you're fine.
I grew up in Florida, so like we had.
You got the nasty critters. That's
some stuff. Yeah, it's like the other land down under, and it's not a better one by any means.
That's a fair point. I've seen some videos of Florida critters. I'm like, whoo.
Yeah.
Seen a couple of gators working at a running camp down there, and I was like, oh, that's nice.
Gators are cool. The gators aren't bad. It's the like everything else, like like snakes, like just crazy amount of like we have like water moccasins and stuff like that. And, coral snakes aren't bad. I've seen a few of those. But
at least they're visible.
Yes, right. Yeah, a little bright.
Yeah.
Trying to think, like I was always in the ocean, like diving. I got dove a bunch, but like not a lot of sharks.
So
yeah, not a lot of sharks, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, listen, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was a great conversation. Wish you the best of luck on your Euro trip. It's going to be pretty rad. When do you leave? Pretty soon? Or
28th.
Nice.
Yeah, so speaking of Sydney, Sydney Taylor and I are all traveling together.
Nice.
So it's gonna be a big third wheel trip for Sarah. So my boyfriend can't go and get himself healthy yet to race, but hopefully soon.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fingers crossed for that. Cool. Well, listen, thank you so much, and I'll get this out in the next couple days.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate it, and have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think? Oh man, what a great episode. I want to thank Sarah so much for coming on the podcast. Like I said, this was a great conversation, and I just really appreciate that she was being, just being candid and being open to telling your story. I think a lot of the audience can probably take away just, I think there's a lot of stories of like perseverance there and grit and just being focused on one goal and being able to continuously like pursue it with great enthusiasm. I think that there's a lot to take away from that, no matter what walk of or stage of life that you're in or how you pursue. athletics. So really appreciate Sarah for coming on. So guys, before you get going, you can find Sarah on Instagram. You can find her at Sarah_Carter_XC. That's Sarah, SARAH_Carter, CARTER_XC. Give her a follow. Let her know what you guys thought about the episode, and send her some words of encouragement as she takes on some big, crazy goals for the rest of her summer, and some more Golden Trail Series racing. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, also, wherever you consume your podcasts, whether that be Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or a place I don't even know, please give us a 5-star rating and review. That would mean an absolute ton. And yeah, super appreciative. We've got some good stuff coming out. We've got a fun collaboration with the Sub Hub coming out in the next few weeks that I think is going to be really fun. I think you guys will take a lot of excitement away or take a lot of excitement. You'll be excited about it. And yeah, very last housekeeping thing. If you guys are interested in a new pack or belt, whatever, Ultimate Direction's got you covered. 25% off. You use the code SteepStuffPod at checkout. And it's definitely a good deal if you guys are trying to get a new vest, hydration, so any type of hydration solution, belts. The Comfort Belt is a dope one I've been rocking with lately, and same with the utility belt. So some good stuff there. So guys, have a great rest of your week. Really appreciate you following along. Thanks so much.